Hi everyone, my name is Ada. I am the owner of Hansverse Energy, and I wanted to do a little video to introduce myself to you. How I started. People always ask me, how did you get started in doing the crystals and Feng Shui and Reiki? Um, so for me, it started. I kind of had like an identity crisis when my kids, were graduating and moving away, and so I was like, well, who am I now? I've always been a mother, a worker, a nurse, the team mom, soccer mom, go go go, and now I found myself with like nothing, and so I kind of was like, oh my god, who am I? And I know that we sometimes go through this, but more for me because I've always, I always try to ignore myself. I put everybody first. Um, it was just my way of coping, with life and just not focusing on my baggage, So focus on something else to not focus on me. And so once my girls started, moving away and they got older and nobody really needed me as much, it was like, hold on, now what do I do? And so that kind of like just like rocked my world. And then I started with, I went to go do a hypnosis session with a friend. And so she was like, oh, we're too alike, we have too much in common. And I don't think that I'm the right person for you. And so at that moment, I was like, oh my God, am I that messed up that even she can't help me? And so this was just my thinking, and just that kind of was like my little spiral. So she referred me to a friend of hers, Fabiola, my teacher, and like I love this lady. She's really like allowed me to grow in who I am. But she opened up me. I guess she allowed me to help me find myself. And so I went to her and I did a hypnosis session. And then I did another one. And she told me about these classes she used to do on Monday nights. And they're about, like angels and the elements and, our true origin. And it was just everything and anything metaphysical. So with that, I was like, well, I don't have anything else to do. Let me go. And so I started going on Mondays, and I really, really fell in love with the information because, I questioned everything in my life, and it was like, that doesn't really make sense. Like concepts of the Bible and they were just things that were like, really, but I've always questioned everything. My things in life were always like, oh, like there has to be more to life than just struggling paying bills and the next day. Like there has to be more. And during my worst times I was always like, oh my god, this too shall pass, this too shall pass. And I was like, this is gonna, but there was always those two questions, like this too shall pass and there has to be more. So it was like this always constant in my head. And I've always been very open to to religion, to different types of, I respect everything. I've kind of looked into different things, and it's just certain things just didn't resonate in my heart. Okay. So, whatever. So I started going to her classes on Monday night. Sorry, I'm a spaz. I'll go all over the place. But so yeah, so I started going to her classes on Monday nights, and I was going to her classes for like almost maybe a year. And I was doing healthcare events, and I was traveling around, and I ended up in Vero Beach for an event. And I had a friend that I went to or lived with, not lived with, but I knew her from when I lived in the Keys. Sorry, my girls want to be in the video. And so she lived in Vero, and so we hooked up, and she started telling me about Reiki, and I was like, girl, I have no idea what Reiki is. And she's like, come on, I'll give you a mini session. I was the type of person that I didn't even like massages because like it hurt to be like, because I was so tense and all the time that, I really didn't like massages and to be touched. So I kind of thought that that's what it was. But it was the total opposite. She barely put hands on me, and I was able to like zone out and like relax my whole body. And that was almost, and I thank her for it because that was my like my switch where like after that, like things started like falling into place. Like all of a sudden, like I go to Monday night class and Fabiola tells me, "Oh, I'm having a Reiki class." And I'm like, "You know Reiki?" Like, "Oh my God, I've been here for like a year. If you've never said anything." And I was like, "Well, I wasn't ready." Like I started thinking to myself, I wasn't ready. So she could have said it 100 times and I probably didn't even get it or grasp it, you know? So I did Reiki. And then I did Reiki mastery, and then like a couple years later, I went back and I did Reiki again, and then she did hypnosis. So I took hypnosis with her, which was super awesome, which helped me a lot. And I tell you all these things because these things came into my life at certain points where they were like I was ready to accept it and grow. Not only to help others, but mainly to help myself. And I noticed that the more I helped myself, I was able to help others, and people like kept coming into my life with things that I had like felt like I had resolved. And so these things kept happening and I'm like, maybe I didn't finish that healing there, so I would go and revisit it. And so then the a different scenario would come, and then I was kind of indifferent and I was like, well, I didn't react, it didn't cause me any emotion, so maybe this time it's kind of done. And so I was like, all right, good, and move on to the next thing. So I used to love to like start things and never finish them. And I kind of caught myself in November where I was like in the middle of a meditation and then it was like, you're selling yourself short. And I was like, what? I've done everything I said I was going to do. And then a thought hit me because when I started my Reiki journey, I was like, I want to teach this to help people heal themselves because it helped me so much. So that thought jumped in the middle of my meditation and I was like, ugh, I kind of have to face myself, And that's one thing about, Reiki and meditation and everything is like, I have to be the truest I can be to myself and hold myself accountable. So I was like, all right, now it's time, let's, I was like, oh, there aren't that many things. And then I started writing a list and I'm like, oh crap, there's a lot more than I thought. So I went back and I was like, all right, I got to start with my first one. So it was Reiki. So I went back and finished, I redid Reiki Master and then I did my Master Teacher. And from there, I was like, Feng Shui. I have been playing with Feng Shui and just like, yeah. But I was like, you know what? I love it. It's helped me so much. I have found so much balance between who I am and my family and my home, And so I was like, you know what? Let's do it. And so I did my certification on that. And everything is a continuous journey. It wasn't like, okay, that was it and it ended. No, it's always learning and growing. So the crystals came in because in the midst of Reiki and trying to find ways of healing and finding different things, my daughter, my oldest one, would suffer from massive anxiety, like to the point where she was just like paralyzed. And so we went to a crystal shop one time and like every time I touched the stone, I kind of would get like this shock on my fingers and I was like, what is going on? So whatever, I left. And like a week later, one of the girls that worked there, me and her kind of became friends, and I told her what happened, and she was like, well, the stones are kind of calling you, like, you can feel their energy. And, I don't even know how it happened, but it was just like one thing led to another, and it was just kind of like, by the time I looked and like realized what had happened is like everything had just kind of fallen into place and happened. So I got my business, I started a business, and I was like, what am I doing? So I started doing Reiki sessions and I started, selling stones. And then I was like, I don't want to have this stone in my pocket. Like, it's so beautiful. I want to wear it. I want to show it. And so my daughter's like, Mom, let's see. I saw this girl wire wrapping. Let's see if we could do it. So I watched one video on YouTube and then it was like, that's it. Like the spark went off and I started, wire wrapping. But it's so crazy because if you guys that have seen my videos in Bazi know that I have no metal in my chart. So discipline for myself is like zero, non-existent, right? So what I had unconsciously did was brought the element into my life that I needed. So wire wrapping was like my therapy, but also a discipline that I needed. And so it kind of really like meshed well with with what I needed in my life. And so that's kind of where we are, and then from there, here I am. So I'm teaching Reiki now, and it's like been the most gratifying experience of my life, knowing that I can teach somebody how to help themselves and their family members, allowing, with Feng Shui, bringing balance to somebody's life, bringing harmony, so that stuff uh, we have a little more control over. We're more aware of what's happening in our lives as opposed to just things always happening. Um, so that's it. That's me. And so, I mean, if you're interested in any of my services, my website has a full, like all our services, Reiki sessions, Feng Shui, Bata chart reading. I also have a full shop. So if you guys want to come by, I'm in Homestead, Florida, and say hi, you can. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about me. You see me, I'm kind of a spaz. I'm all over the place, but I'm as real as it gets. So this is it. I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Bye.